Hello, I'm FJX, and one of the greatest things about Minecraft is the exploration. The fact that you can walk for thousands or tens of thousands of blocks in the same direction while still finding entirely new and unique experiences is one of the things that makes Minecraft so appealing to so many people. However, one of the things that makes the exploration so great is the fact that you'll find so many different biomes, but the other part is the fact that you'll find unique structures in those biomes. Almost every single major Minecraft update adds a brand new structure, and some Minecraft updates recently have started even revamping the older structures. With this in mind, I figured let's go through some of the worst Minecraft structures, the ones that when you run across them, you really don't care about them in the slightest. You're like, hey, this is a thing that I can look at, say is rare, and then kind of move on, because the truth is, structures are great. Structures are a way to make Minecraft feel more real, but sometimes they don't have a use, they don't have any real value, and today I want to go through the 5 biggest contenders for that title, starting with the 5th one here, which has to be an example from the most recent update, 1.13. I'll be honest, I'm slightly more partial to this one, because I did love the aquatic update. So, in case you're curious, the structure I'm talking about is a really good idea that came about because someone on the dev team was like, hey, you know how we have caves, right? And they're like, yeah, we do have caves. That's one of Minecraft's oldest features. What if we took these caves and we made them aquatic? We made underwater caves, and someone was like, yes, let's do it, let's put the caves underwater. And then as far as I can tell, they implemented the feature into the game. There are in fact caves in Minecraft that generate underwater, basically in other words, underwater won't stop caves from generating, and now there is a second type of cave, one which is filled with water rather than air, but besides that, it's just a less convenient type of cave. You have to swim so far below the surface just to see the cave, and then once you're in the cave, you mine a lot slower than you otherwise would, because obviously you're underwater, it halves your mining speed, and basically, the fact that there's no oxygen in here means that most people won't go in here. If you have a water-breathing potion, which takes a lot of effort to get, in whichever way you decide to do it, then maybe you come here because you want to get some coal in a unique way, but the truth is, coming in here is dangerous. If your potion runs out, you're gonna drown, and the actual risk-reward benefit isn't very good because it's just a regular cave but below water, and also with some seagrass mixed in. The underwater cave is such a great idea because it feels like, yeah, diving underwater, finding caves should be a great experience, but in the actual practicality of the game, there just isn't much of a reason to do so. Above ground caves allows you to skip some of the effort by, simply hopping into a pre-made cave, which you can, dive through and use it to your heart's content. It's a really natural feeling thing. Underwater caves, although they feel like they belong in some way, they don't really have any use. When you find one of these, you don't really care because what is the benefit? You can find a huge pit of gravel, apparently. Oh, that's exciting. You can find some ores slightly easier than if you, branch mine, except it's not easier because you need the underwater potions. The truth is, there is a specific group of people who do use underwater caves, sometimes I'm sure, but it's a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of overall players, and I just think something, here would be great. Maybe every now and then you can find bubble columns in here and oh, that would be a way to breathe or something. Something needs to be done here, and the reason I'm convinced they intended to do something bigger and they didn't is because of something called cave air. If you don't know, Minecraft has a block called air, and every single block in the game that isn't represented by something else is got the air designation instead. So for instance, looking around up here, you might see a bunch of no block spaces. This is all actually air up here. This is how you breathe in Minecraft. There's a lot of other technical things that the air block does, but it means that every block in Minecraft is filled, just some things are filled with air and some things aren't. So now with that out of the way, keep in mind that when they added the caves underwater, they also added something called cave air into Minecraft, and this was one of the weirdest explanations because air itself already didn't really have too many unique properties, but then they added a second type of air which was entirely undistinguishable from regular air, except that it spawns in caves and you can sometimes find it, but it does nothing different right now. I think at some point they intend to revisit these because whiteouts have a different type of air that affects all of these versions from 1.13, 1.14 onwards. So yeah, I expect that underwater caves will be updated. I mean, all the cards are there, and until they are updated, it's nice that they exist. I've gone underwater mining before, it's just there isn't really much of a purpose to doing so, and that's such a shame because it feels so fun when you do it, and that's a shame because it feels so fun when you're doing it, but then you feel a lot of shame afterwards because you just feel like, why did I even do that? And that's a common experience, am I right? With that said, that might be too far actually. With that said, let's move into the next, structure. So the next structure is one I really did think was amazing when it was first added. It was only a few updates ago now, but if we're being honest, you never search these things out in your free time, and when you do find them, it's a bit like, oh, okay then, unless it's very early on in your Minecraft game where a single golden apple might be helpful, usually speaking, these are a structure which are mostly worth avoiding. So yeah, this is a Minecraft Igloo, in case you hadn't worked that out, and there are 2 types of Minecraft Igloo. There are types that do, and there are types that don't come with a trapdoor underneath. We got really lucky, and this one does have a trapdoor, which has a bunch of stone bricks leading you down to a secret little basement. But here's the funny thing. Half of these, so, you know, if you do stumble across one of these fairly rare structures, half of them do not spawn with a basement down below them. It is just this above ground structure made up of snow, you know, a really rare block in this biome. There is no way you can get snow anywhere else around here. There is just one source, so I sure am glad you can get a bunch of snow blocks, and then a few bits of ice. It's packed ice to be precise, but you get literally a couple bits of ice, and that's kind of it. Admittedly, maybe if you just need to stop for the night, you go to sleep, you put things in the furnace, and then you craft some things, and that's kind of useful. But again, unless it's very, very early days, most of the time this is a near useless structure. It's just a nice little, oh, that's a thing I found, I guess. And then the other half of the time, when you get lucky, when you find one which does have a thing below it, let me show you the high quality reward you do get. Because, you know, it used to be back in the day that it was one of the few ways to get chiseled stone. You'd be like, oh, that's kind of nice, I guess. But no, what you get nowadays is you get a zombie and you get a villager. It kind of explains the difference between the two. I think this is actually one of the coolest potential things in Minecraft, and that, like, if you don't know about this reaction before now, you might be like, huh, I guess it's telling me about something, but I don't think it necessarily tells you enough. Like, admittedly, all the tools are here, like, you get a smash potion of weakness, and you get, like, a golden apple, but maybe some way to signify that, like, oh yeah, you throw these two things on the villager, and then suddenly it'll heal him into a regular one, because, again, if you don't already know, you take a golden apple, you take a smash potion, you can actually turn a villager back to normal, and that's kind of what this structure hints at, but most people either know that already, or they don't learn from this structure. Again, I don't know what you could do better, like, because it feels a bit on the nose to have a book or a full lesson telling that, but it's a weird place, and the only thing that redeems it is the fact that you get a free golden apple if you choose not to use it on this, and you also get a you know, villager to potentially trade with. So want to trade some string in, or get some arrows or whatever, you can do so with the Fletcher. It's kind of nice sometimes, sort of, but because it's only one villager, it's still not enough to actually start a farm with. You need to breed the second one, and then you need to make an underground village for them, because, you know, sometimes they intersect with caves, but you need to, like, turn this into a whole thing. My point here is it's a little bit of a mess. It's a bit of a tricky situation, and there just aren't enough things in here to really justify it, given that it's a rare chance on top of a already kind of rare structure in a biome where it's not really needed. That's my opinion on this one, at least. I think this the Igloo, it has some purpose. It's just that purpose is a really, really narrow one in really weird situations that I think could be improved. It could be something that everyone's excited to see, and also, I mean, come on, look at these things. Like, they're not made from valuable materials. They're not, you know, even great looking. I think most people would agree this is not the best way to make an igloo. I like it because it's simple, but most people who don't like simple things would say, no, actually, I mean, can we have something a bit better maybe than 12 bits of carpet, a bed, and you know, like a couple bits of things. It's not the greatest thing in the world. It's something that could be great, but just isn't quite there. And that's why the igloo needs some improvements. Again, this is on the list of, like, oh yeah, this could really easily be improved. So here's the thing about the witch's hut. When it was first introduced, witches were slightly rarer than they were right now, and it was one of the main ways that you could find witches in your Minecraft world. It was meant to be like oh yeah, go to these rare little huts and you'll find one of the more unique mobs in the game, one which can drop potions sometimes, one which does come with, of course, the cauldron, which is, you know, filled with various liquids, etc. You know, it's a really exciting thing, but the truth is, especially on Java, this is just a boring structure. After, you know, witches were made fairly frequent in the wild, if you want to find witches, you don't think, okay, let's go to a swamp, let's go thousands of blocks sometimes out of my way and let's find one of these tiny little huts. No, you think to yourself, okay, I'll go out at night and then within maybe an evening, I'll find myself a witch. They're not too rare, and even if you wanted to go really crazy, it's still possible to get a witch by just using channeling on a villager, you know, like getting the lightning to strike them, and then boom, you get yourself a witch that way. However, getting a witch this way involves a few steps, one of which, I don't know where the witch went actually. I swear I just saw her a second ago. Oh, there she is. So, yeah, you need to get to this witch's hut before the witch leaves it and goes into a cave exploring. See, if this was an underwater cave, the witch wouldn't be able to do it. But because it's above ground, you can see how the witch is really easily getting along with it. You see how that makes above ground caves so much better than their below ground counterparts? But staying on the topic of the rant at hand, yeah, basically, the problem with the witch's hut is the witch, which is the most notable feature, is kind of not really attached to it. The witch will leave at a moment's notice, which leaves you with this structure, for the most part, looking like this. Because even if there is a witch, you'll kill it instantly, because they're kind of scary. So it's like, okay, the witch is, farm is a little box. It's literally 3x4 on the inside. It's got a few interesting, maybe, blocks. It's like, okay, I guess this is an easier way to get some spruce stairs for the roof. But truth be told, the only reason you might come here is because it's a slightly easier cauldron to get than normal, and on Bedrock, of course, it's worth saying that you can, take this and, so if we drink a potion real quick, you can actually bottle up the potion in the chest, so you can get yourself, say, a poison potion, or multiple poison potions in this case. It's a really cool thing that cauldrons work that way, and it's a wonderful thing you can do. It makes the witch's hut a little bit better, but it still raises the question, why go out of your way all this effort just to get a poison potion? In this case, we have a potion that we can only drink ourselves, so it's a little bit more pointless than normal. But yeah, you see the point of like, okay, so we went all this way for a potion. The witch's hut is a bit like the friend's house of a guy who's like, yeah, you should totally come over, we'll do some stuff, it'll be great. And then you get there, and they're like, so, would you like to stand on the crafting table, maybe? Or maybe go into the corner, there's just nothing there, and you're like, wow, I would like to leave this as fast as possible, except you've gone through a lot of effort to get there, because for some reason your friend lives, 9,000 blocks away from spawn, or how many it takes, and yeah, that is why, personally, I think the witch's hut is a structure which needs some redoing. I would say it'd be better if there was, like, a few of them together, like a witch hut community, and also if the spawn rates for using it would be better, because I know you can make witch hut farms sometimes, sort of, but it'd be better if there was some more consistent measure for that, because I would love a better way to get witches and a better reason to get witches, but that's just me being picky. So the next example is one which I really, really, really love the theory of, but just hate the practice beyond belief, because it is buried treasure. Buried treasure, if you don't know, you find buried treasure maps, it leads you to buried treasure, but the truth is, buried treasure is something, when you get those maps, to me at least, I have like some serious form of PTSDs where I'm like, oh no, not this again, please, please, not the buried treasure chest, because what it ends up inevitably being is a wild goose hunt, looking around the red X on the map, never getting there, and the truth is, I'm only excited to find buried treasure when it by accident spawns somewhere entirely in plain view. When I get buried treasure maps these days, I honestly don't even bother doing them because I'm just that hurt by them, and I'm someone who loves Minecraft structures, but again, I've been hurt too much by this one, so we're just going to move on as quick as we can to the last buried structure today. Because do you know what the worst structure in Minecraft is? It's also one of the rarest on a per chunk basis, because there is a 1 in 1,000 chance in any given desert chunk. I have checked this time and time again. It seems like they're more common because you have no positive emotion when it comes up, but you feel a lot of negative and confused emotion. But the desert well is one of the rarest structures in Minecraft, but despite that fact, do you care about it? The answer is no. The other example was like a friend's house where you really want to like it, but you just don't. You go there and you feel like you put too much effort in. This is like a friend's house where, like you don't like the friend and you don't want to be there, but for some reason you just keep stumbling across it. Like you try to walk home and one day you walk to your friend's house and you're like, oh no, not this guy again, because it's a guy who has just 5 blocks of water in his house. He lives in a well. I don't know where this analogy is going, but my point here is the desert well is the most ridiculously pointless structure. If anything was on this rarity, you'd be excited, but the desert well offers you some sandstone in a biome where I just can't work out how I'd make sandstone. There's just none of it around, so good thing we've got that here. You also find some water. It's a 1x3 source though, not the superior 2x2 water source. This video was made by the 2x2 water source gang. But no, more seriously, like look at this. This is like, okay, you can get water an infinite amount out here, I guess, but you know where else you can get water from in the desert biomes? Rivers, which run through them pretty regularly. There's one just to the left, just to the right, and just all the way around this. As you can see right here, it's a little desert, water place where you find sugarcane and various things. But you can also find on top of both of these water sources, ravines and other various caves will sometimes spawn with water within them. Water is found all over these places, is the point I'm trying to get across, so having a dedicated structure for it is kind of questionable. Also, we have in case you think like, well, I mean, it's a desert well, it's especially special, but you know what the best thing is? There is a second type of desert well. It's not just this one, which again, we stumble across another one. Is it exciting? It's not, but the second type of desert well you can find is found in any village. This is obviously a, like a savanna village, but you'll see the basic point. Every desert biome will spawn with a second type of desert well, which is, like less, rare anyway, which looks like this, also contains infinite water. There is water all over the desert, and unlike in real life, where in the desert you need to, drink water because otherwise you'll die, it's, they're really non-humid environments there. Really weird things. Oh, this one has a cacti somehow spawned in there. That's a weird placement. But the point is, you have no need for the water, no need for the sand zone, and no need for the rarity of the whole thing. It's just a thing that happens and makes you go, really? this still exists in the game. I don't know how you'd make these useful. Maybe you could have them, have a chest in. I know that's the solution to everything, give it a chest, but like maybe make it have some more unique blocks, like chiseled sandstone, or do something, I'm not even sure what. Like try and make some element of this structure more unique, more interesting, because right now you just stumbled across them and wonder like, is this a relic of Minecraft past? Is this like a beta feature they added because they figured that would be a good idea? Back when water, didn't used to be infinite, it used to be slightly weirder. It actually used to all be infinite. But like, is that a thing they did? No, this is just a feature they added, and then maybe they didn't add the functionality later. I don't see any real way to save these. I think, honestly, you remove this feature from the game tomorrow, most people wouldn't notice or care. They'd be like, oh, I need to find a desert well because I'm making a video on how pointless desert wells are, or maybe, something like that. I'm the last time you thought about this structure, aren't I? You're like, oh man, you're really, talking about something which is a dead horse. It's not a dead horse. I think the last time I spoke about these wells was 2016. It's just that's 100% the time you hear about them. Every single time this structure comes up, it's because of how pointless, rare, and, kind of worthless these things are, and they're not even the better type of water source, and just in general, my point here is that desert wells are a sad structure, which, if there were a lot of these in Minecraft, if there was like 100 different types of rare mini structures you could find that like existed just to make Minecraft feel more alive, that would make more sense. But these are the only one of a special type of structure, a mini structure, let's call it, where it's just like, yeah, there's a bunch of things you can find. And what's the purpose of those things? Well, they exist. They sure do. They exist so hard, you wouldn't believe how hard they exist. They're the best at existing, you could say. However, like I always say, I try to end videos with at least a little bit of like constructive like feedback or criticism or whatever, just in case, someone is watching this, they're like, oh yeah, so, maybe we do want to improve these structures in 1.15, 1.16. The easiest way for all of these is just to add something about them that adds some real replay value to finding more of these. Because if you explore Minecraft a lot, you'll find a lot of desert wells. Even though they're only 1 in every 1,000 chunks, you get deserts which contain multiple 1,000 chunks, and therefore statistically, you're going to find more than one desert well. Try and give some value to them, or if you're not going to do that, try and add lots of these mini structures in the case of the desert well. In the case of other things, like the witch's hut, you just have to increase the witch spawn right there, make a little witch community, add some variants so it feels different when you find them. If you have the exact same structure spawning frequently over and over again with no real purpose, that's when it starts to get annoying. That's when no one cares if you can find it, and that's when you've wasted one of the slots for a structure in Minecraft on something which doesn't necessarily need it. So I'd love to see an update where they update all these structures, even in just tiny ways. All it takes for the igloo is have a different type of igloo that can have a, instead of having a basement igloo and a basementless one, have the basementless one have some real purpose besides, oh, you just got unlucky this time. Have underwater caves do something unique. I think they definitely intend to do that. And in the case of buried treasure, just make the maps work on Bedrock. I don't know why that's not been a thing that works yet. But my point is I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope that we do see a structure update, because I love structures, I love biomes. That's the reason I do so much like seed exploration, etc. on my channel. And if you want to see, by the way, the seed from all of these things, because these were all found in the same world, alongside a lot of other weird things along the way, it is the global warming seed from 2 weeks ago. I'll link it in the description or on screen. And if you don't see it there, then just check the channel for Survival Island, but global warming happened. It's a fun seed, and you can get all these great things on that exact same seed, not too far away from spawn. Or, 10,000 blocks is far, but you're not coming 10,000 blocks just to get desert wells, I hope. If you are, then I have some concerns about you that you should probably direct to your doctor. But with that said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye. Wait, we'll push something. No, I'm good. I'm good. Wait, hit the bell. It's good for you. Your doctor will confirm when you go for your checkup session. There we go. That's good.